Do you think that New York City is becoming a skate park city or will become so within the next, let's say, 20, 40 years? Because there has been the craziest upsurge of skate parks
Yeah.
everywhere. Like now it's not even a big deal anymore. Before, if there was a new park in the city, you'd know about it. Now it's like it'll just slip right under your radar because of how many. And they're obviously, the city is putting in skate parks to give people the opportunity to skate places where they won't get kicked out. And I understand where they're coming from, but in the same hand, there is a whole generation of skaters who, when they, as
Well,
soon as they start skating, park is like the go-to.
yeah, yeah. I know. So I've been watching this loop of Keith Hufnagel, like from like the late '80s when he's like skating the banks in Long Island with Gino and Keenan Milton and all these dudes, and like it's them skating Midtown. It's like that. Those guys grew up skating Midtown and shit, like in the banks, which is a crazy spot. And and I just think like would someone like Huff, would those dudes like have the same kind of impact if they had grown up with the skate parks that like all these kids have today? On the other hand, think about Gangcore, like those kids did grow up at the LES. They learned how to skate there. And yet the video, like Black Business, they're fucking skating like Midtown. They're, like skating the rail in front of the Trump building on 59th Street at Columbus Circle with a posse of 20 other skaters. Like, if the skate parks engender that, which I think is like the most radical thing about skating in a city, right? Like a crew of 20 skaters deep, like dominating that space, pushing each other, doing shit that hasn't been done at that thing on a real street spot, good. I do think, like, I mean, shit, like there were years when I didn't have a skate park growing up, but I always wanted to skate a skate park. We skated street, and I believe that street skating is more legitimate than skate park skating. But like skate park skating, it's like it's training, And I to answer your question in a different way, yeah, New York City is becoming a skate park city because everything is becoming, the skate park equivalent of hanging out is happening too. Like everything is fucking getting, for lack of a better word, gentrified. Skate parks are the gentrification of skateboarding. They're like, oh, let's control it. And like, this is where we spent money on this and we expect a financial return somehow. And even if the financial return is just containing this activity. The cool thing about skateboarding is that also what they don't plan for is exploration, like you skating, doing a fucking kickflip nose grind at the ledge at LES isn't the end goal of a kickflip nose grind. You do that trick so that you can do it on the fucking bench on Water Street or whatever, So, and I think I'm pretty pessimistic about New York these days. Not like the people, but just like what's going on there. But I would think that the good thing about New York historically is that it's always able to reinvent itself and keep progressing. Well, that sounds so cheesy, but like that I think that like skate parks won't be the end of skateboarding in New York. They will just foster more skaters to do more shit in the actual city. That's what I hope.
And in terms of Instagram, again,
Mm.
there's a whole generation of skaters who are growing up with Instagram as their
Yeah.
main platform, and they're seeing a bunch of skating that I was looking at some video the other day, and I was thinking, yo, if this, and it was getting a lot of praise. And I was like, damn, if this video was around when I started skating, it would have just got shut down. People would have been like, you're whack. Why are you wearing this? Or
Yeah.
why are you like zooming in on something that you didn't even land? It's just like a bail where you look pretty or whatever. Like, how do you think that Instagram has been affecting skateboarding?
I think it's gentrifying it. It's redefining the quality standards. You know what I mean? And like, and it's giving people a very warped view of like what's good and bad. But I think also that that's important. I don't think those lines should be so rigid. Other, fuck, man, I grew up in the '90s. It was judgmental. Like I was never happy with anything I did because I knew it wasn't good enough. you know and if I had Instagram, I mean, I don't know if I'd still be skating, but if I had that immediate response from total strangers and approval and critique, uh I don't know, I mean, I think it would have changed my approach to skateboarding. I don't know necessarily in a good way, but I will say that I spent a lot of time, especially as a teenager, miserable about skating, you know, like loving it more than anything, but just knowing I was like not knowing if I was good enough, or like not having anyone to like compare my skating with besides the videos, which were so few and far between and so far advanced that they were untouchable. Like you'd see a video and you just be, how the fuck like do I get there? You know? And the good thing about Instagram is that like it encourages, it kind of collapses those hierarchies. It encourages different approaches, different skill levels, different looking skaters. And it goes in weird ways, you know? So like that Burberry Airy shit, or fucking, you know, all these like crazy like drip skaters that like don't want to be sponsored and film at the skate park and like film in slow-mo and edit their shit to horrible shit. Like, yeah, it looks crazy to me, but I think like it inspires kids. And like, damn, I wore some fucked up shit in 1988 and I didn't have Instagram to blame, you know? Like, I think it's just kids are dumb and creative, and they're gonna find like some, you know, they're gonna find their way through it. But like, yeah, it's corny too, for sure. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's definitely. I'm gonna go back to graffiti. It's related to that also in terms of Instagram, because a lot of kids nowadays, they can it's very easy to get notoriety or props from people, because you can just post something. You can post videos of you doing this stuff, and a lot of people, they'll say, "Wow, it's amazing!" Props, all over the world. You get credit for your stuff, but the people around here, when they see that on the streets, they're like, "What is this kid doing? He needs to stop. He
Yeah,
needs he needs to practice. Like you can't just be." But the thing is like that dopamine gets to your head, and you're like, "I'm gonna keep doing this," and a lot of people do it just for that, for likes and stuff. But social media is positive because it can link you with people that can help you get better. It can
yeah,
link you with more, opportunities, experiences that you. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's like so I was listening to someone describing sort of the way that we react on social media and shit. It's like, if I don't know, like when I'm driving, I'm like screaming at the person in front of me, right? I used to talk about this, like the difference between New York and LA was like, you know, in LA, if there's like an old lady on the freeway and she's driving 40, like you're just being like, fuck you, you fucking bitch, get the fuck off the road. I fucking, you know, like, because you're speaking in this glass bubble, an automobile, which is like your sense of personal space. Whereas like New York, for most of the time, like if an old person gets on the subway, you get up and you give them their seat, you know, because you have to face them, because that's real life. And social media to me is like the screaming in the car. It's road rage, you know, road rage and dopamine. And luckily, it doesn't really change real life, at least for me. I mean, in the sense that, like, sure, I'll spend at least once a day, someone's going to tell me how much they fucking hate me and tell me what a loser I am. You know, that's fine. Because, like, no one ever has said that shit to me in real life, you know? Like, no one has said, like, remotely negative things besides, like, hey, I thought you were an asshole on IG, but it turns out, like, you're a normal dude, you know? Like, that's like the most threatening shit I've heard in 3.5 years of running an account that is like designed to antagonize people. so so I kind of like, it's bullshit, and maybe I can have the perspective of that because I'm older and I like don't trust it, you know, like I didn't grow up with it, so I'm just like, what is this new stupid toy, you know, like that I'm playing with. Whereas like kids, I think, who grew up with it, like who might see like a Burberry Airy video, or read every comment and get really excited and juiced about it, like that might be their reality, you know. I think I was lucky enough to have that space and that distance where I wasn't so sure what my favorite pro thought about their fucking socks or whatever, you know, like where the imagination is important. And I don't know, I'm distracted because social media. No, uh, like I would just assume that I would hope that everyone has a space away from their phone where they can kind of like really actually start to think about their relationship with the outside world, you know, because I don't think it's social media. I think that enhances it, it detracts from it, it distracts us, but it's not like the end all truth, right?